kids are out for a quick walk with the mama, so I guess I better use this opportunity. I want to talk more about microexploration, and well, of course, I need to start with saying what I mean. It's really giving voice, giving a label to something that is a easy thing actually, but I find it something impactful, something interesting, at least for me, and maybe it helps you as well. So, I grew up with all of those books, all of those stories of survival, of expeditions, of exploration. I really, really liked them to the point that I was a gearhead early on. I was really interested in what you would need to be able to survive in difficult situations, what gear you need for hikes, for adventures outside. But I had my bad eyesight, I was not exactly the strongest, and my parents did not exactly support that sort of thing. My dad especially is very much a person who is more like, something could happen, who knows what, let's better not do anything too special, who knows what will happen. And so, yeah, I had a lot of reasons to not do anything of that kind. Even just with the glasses or the contact lenses, it felt too hard, too strange to do anything. I mean, it would have been strange if I went into the mountains and lost my glasses. It would become difficult to get down, to see where I'm walking, how the path is. It takes a little something. So for a long time, I did not really do anything. It was what seemed like an impossible dream. And of course, it seemed like an impossible dream anyways. I mean, yeah, your life might be boring, but you still don't want to have so much of a discomfort, of a hassle. And there are no more white spots on the maps. I mean, come on. Nowadays, usually, if we go somewhere to explore, to find out things, it's more like, I've been there, I've done the Instagram photo as well, I've posted it as well, and yay, I've seen this place, look how great I am. I've heard of at least 5 different people who have now visited every single country in the world, and oh, how great they are, and they're the first person to do it, except all 5 of them were seemingly the first person. And then one of them was not using airplanes, but doing it in a different way, all by land, and somebody seems to have walked everywhere. It's fine, it's interesting, but what have you really learned from just having been to all the countries in the world? What do you really learn from having been someplace? At the same time, of course, if you stay at home all the time, one of my academic backgrounds is in anthropology, and there was a lot of talk of joking about the armchair anthropologist who just settles down somewhere and reads something or lets the locals bring him some information and collects it and just, yeah, enjoys his gin and tonic or whatever is the poison du jour in a certain place, in a certain situation, and that's it. And of course, it's not the right thing either. But there is, I think, a way that we can recognize that our lives can be more interesting, can be a journey of discovery, can be exploration, if we just realize that we are exploring not for white spots on the map, not for finding out something for humanity, but we need to find out things for ourselves. I mean, you live your own life, hopefully, for yourself, for your family if you have family, and yes, there will be something to talk about in having family and in how having children has made me think of this topic not really differently actually, but in different ways, again, more deeply in some regards. We'll get there. But so there are things you can discover for yourself, and maybe even in discovering things for yourself, in sharing them also with others, you can actually discover new things. You can certainly explore new things. There is actually this feeling of familiarity, of losing curiosity, because we already know the things around us. We know what is happening, how the world works. We become so convinced, so settled in our ways that we think and we feel, and it's comfortable to just always do the same things and not really have to learn anything new and not to look closer. And that's really how we lose curiosity, how we lose a lot of pleasure of living, I think, I'm afraid. Because, yeah, we become afraid of going out in bad weather, of jumping into the next puddle. That's, of course, children's experiences with my own children now coming into play. But also in things that interest me for a long time, that have interested me for a long time, like wearables, like health tracking, that sort of thing. If you just track it and you don't look at it, you don't learn anything from it. And if you don't learn anything, then you will just find some results and say, aha, this works or doesn't work, or what does that even show me now? But you will not really have any advantage from it. It will not really tell you anything. Often enough, I see people who actually, sorry if I put it so bluntly, but show how stupid they are. I mean, there was somebody who, for example, who of course deleted that post after a little bit because it was being made fun of so much, who wrote, wow, I used my Garmin watch on an airplane and it never showed more than 3,000 meters of altitude. Are we being cheated about the altitude at which airplanes fly? No, cabins are pressurized nowadays, and yes, you should have known that. Okay, but that's a really easy target. But there is enough where things get much more complicated, and where still, if you learn something, you will find out more. And that is, for example, all of the data that you get from OHR, from the optical heart rate. It can tell you a lot, but you need to learn what it can tell you. Heart rate variability, for example, is a major topic in that. Yes, you can use it for some things, it can tell you quite a bit, but there are constantly people are like, my HRV is so low, am I dead, am I constantly stressed? No, you just haven't learned how it actually works, that you need to look at the changes, at the differences in your own HRV. And yes, it's a bit peculiar if it is very low, but that's how it is. And no, all of this, I did this and that to raise my HRV by so much. It does not necessarily mean that you're doing any better. If you did things which are good for your stress levels, for your relaxation, and that's why your HRV is now higher, that's a good thing, sure. But the HRV should probably not be it. Or maybe it is a good thing. And there is, you can see a ton of things like that about our daily life, about our nutrition, about spices we use. That's a topic of mine, something I like thinking and talking and learning about. About health and fitness. If you learn something more, and be it from books, be it from Netflix documentaries if need be, then you can see more in your life. You can see points where you could change something for the better, or where you can find things which actually are interesting and raise your curiosity again. And there are things which you can become curious about, or which you see. In travels, of course, there are new things new places you go to, new things you see, new experiences you can have. And if you leave it at that, okay, can be good for you, but could also be a waste of resources and time and a lot of hassle, actually. But if you learn more about them, you can also have more from this experience. You can draw from the experiences you had, the images, the pictures you took, the videos you made maybe for sharing them, for example. A lot more if you look back at them, and if you don't just use it as a memory of like, yeah, I was actually there at that point in time, but you can also look at, where was I actually? What were those places? Why do I even want to visit them? What do they tell me? And then there is so much more to discover in your life. There is so much of fascination in this world. We see cynicism as such a good thing nowadays. Haha, I'm not such a naive person to be interested in everything, and oh, this is all so exciting. I mean, come on, I'm an Austrian, I'm a Viennese by background, so all of this, whoa, hey, welcome to my channel, is so annoying to me, because this is just not how it goes. How it should be for a Viennese. Viennese are much more like, yeah, sure, a very peculiar, oftentimes macabre, dry sense of humor, very black humor often enough, but also We want to be a bit calmer. We want to see things as they are, maybe with a bit of sarcasm, cynicism, black humor, dry humor, whatever. But certainly not usually with this, oh, look how excited I am because everything is so excited. That feels totally fake to us. We have a real issue with Americans in that regard oftentimes because why are you so friendly? Vienna, of course, has a particular problem because Austria being seen as the friendliest country recently, supposedly in some survey, or Vienna as the most livable city, sure, but with a lot of grunt, of a general feeling of dread and concern and unhappiness. That's rather our thing. And yeah, well, I do want to be realistic. I want to tell you things the way I see them with realistic scientific background, changing my opinion if I find out something new and that things are not as I thought they are. But that too is a microexploration, a exploring your own thoughts, your own opinions a bit more, and then seeing what you should maybe learn about them. There is a ton which you can do like that. There's actually way too much because you could look at everything and then you would be ruminating all the time about what you are doing and what you should have done and blah, and it's not going to do you any good. With the wearables, I find this more and more, for example, that people who track their sleep, who are perfectionists about their sleep and who worry too much about it, they suffer from sleep tracking. This does not work. Tracking for a longer time, looking at it, sometimes looking at like, I'm not just feeling bad, the data also tells me this is not good, is fine. But in the morning, waking up and saying, my sleep was too little, I'm going to be feeling bad today, that's going to work out just like that as a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's not a good idea. But I, for example, had found that with the kids now I go to bed much earlier, I sleep for longer, of course with a lot of interruptions, which is not good, but my sleep has become rather better. I do not have crashes in the afternoon anymore, not because of glucose tracking and eating so differently, as much as I try sometimes to do it and can't usually do it because of the kids once again. It's doing me some good. Becoming a dad has done me some good in terms of fitness and endurance, although I can hardly ever go to sensible running training. This is a real struggle. But again, it helps me to look at what training should look like, what I am doing and can do. I can do it more sensibly that way. I can see that I'm in a different role now as a father, and so my priorities are a bit different. Yes, I will soon be at the 100k ultramarathon again. I hope I can manage it. I certainly don't have any time goals for it except for finishing it within the allotted time. But that's about it because my priorities are somewhere else. I'm very glad though my wife is giving me the opportunity of participating in that. That's going to be nice, hopefully. It certainly was a nice gesture of hers. I love it. Just like now, she took the kids and the dog out for a walk in pretty bad weather. But okay, she went anyways. It's a discovery. Hannah, our older daughter, typically just wants to take her rubber boots because she wants to jump in the next puddles. That's fun, and that's a discovery too of how high can the water splash. Of course, you need something different, but God, you can cook better if you learn more about cooking, about ingredients, about healthy eating. You can start to eat differently and then learn if it is really good or why it would be good. You have a lot you can do by microexploration, by looking at your own life, at your own surroundings more closely. And yes, of course, it is based on micro-adventure, but very deliberately different. The micro idea, I think, is a good one for your own life, your own surroundings. You don't have to go somewhere, wow, fantastic, and do, I don't know, the Transalpine run for it to be worth it. You can go for a short run too, and it will be good for you, and it can be a journey of discovery about yourself, about your fitness, your body, the way you think about fitness, about doing something. the things you see outside, the places you have always gone, the places you have not gone. There's a lot and you can profit so much from it. Just let's collect some ideas. Let's see what I'm doing. Tell me what you are doing if you want to. And yeah, let's live life as a journey of discovery, as journeys of exploration for the things that we come to see as interesting and as important to us, and not just for living day to day, not just being driven by outside pressures, outside motivations of money, of fame, of fortune, of whatever, but for something a bit deeper for ourselves and maybe eventually helpful for others as well. So share what you are doing, let me share more of what I'm doing, what I'm seeing, what I'm looking more closely at and learning more about.